I took a deep breath and gathered my resolve, staring at Emma with all the determination I could muster. I had always struggled with communicating with others, but for the first time in my life, I had fallen in love. When Emma heard my confession, she covered her mouth and tears welled up in her eyes. Emma. As I fumbled for words, Emma wiped the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief and shook her head. It's okay. I'm just overwhelmed. Actually, there's something I need to tell you. What she said next left me utterly astonished. My name is John. I had been working as an engineer in Japan for about 8 years. Thanks to a fortunate turn of events, I got the chance to work for the company in the US of my dream, CEO Kevin. However, within less than a month, Kevin's company was acquired. As a result, I now find myself employed by SK Games, the company that took over Kevin's production. What's worse, this company is claiming all the achievements of the former employees, including mine. How did things end up this way? Every time I ponder this, memories of my first day at Kevin's production and meeting my direct boss, Emma, flood back. All right, Emma, I'm counting on you. Show him how things work around here. With these words, Kevin waved to us and walked briskly away from his desk. CEO Kevin, the head of the production company, was a legendary producer known by anyone who loved games, famous for creating hit products even after starting his own company. Inspired by him, I decided to become a programmer and was recently scouted to join this company. Emma, who stood before me, was assigned as my mentor. My name is Emma. Everyone calls me by my first name, so feel free to do the same. I'm 2 years older than you, by the way. Now, let's hear a quick introduction from you. Emma said this with a gentle smile on her refined face. Objectively speaking, she was quite beautiful. It was clear that she put a lot of effort into skincare and hair care, without letting her natural beauty make her complacent, something I noticed from observing other female programmers of her age. Even if I didn't mean to compare, I couldn't help but be aware of it. Something like this. Avoiding her gaze, I handed her the documents I had prepared in advance. I wasn't averting my eyes because of her beauty. I've always been bad at dealing with people, and looking someone in the eye makes it hard for me to speak. Anticipating this, I had compiled information about myself in these documents. So this is what Kevin was talking about. Emma nodded as if she finally understood, and placed the document I had prepared on the desk without looking at it. I understand that you're not great at talking to people. This document is your way of solving that problem, right? But starting today, let's make an effort to look people in the eye when we talk. We work as a team, after all. She looked straight at me with her big eyes. Caught by her intense gaze, I nodded repeatedly. All right, I'll count it as progress since you looked me in the eye. Now, follow me as my assistant starting today. I'll introduce you to the team. She smiled brightly. Following Emma, I met the members of the team she led. Our company, Big K Productions, has fewer than 50 employees. It consists of 3 teams including ours, a few office staff, and several executives led by the CEO. This is John, who joined our team today. He'll be assisting me for a while. After introducing me to the team, Emma told me to watch her work and then began her usual tasks. She wasn't the type of boss who lounged in her chair barking orders. She was someone who actively tried to get things done herself. More than anything, she was strict with both herself and others. Don't stop working. It's not break time yet. There's plenty to do. The moment a bit of lethargy set in, Emma would snap everyone back to attention, stern enough to make a child cry. On the other hand, she didn't spare herself from criticism either. Sorry, I missed this check. I'll finish it within 30 minutes, she'd say, apologizing to her teammates before diving back into her work. For someone like me, who had only ever focused on my own tasks, her way of working was refreshing. About an hour before lunch, Emmy asked me to review a program created by one of the employees and point out any issues. Seeing inefficiencies at a glance, I decided to rewrite it on my own computer. When I showed my work after about 10 minutes, Emma's expression was one of surprise. She frowned. I asked you to point out any issues, right? Sure, with your skills, this task was probably a breeze. But I'm sorry, we won't be using it this time. David, come over here. Emma called over the team member who had written the original program and instructed him to correct the issues. Feeling as if my work had been rejected, I nervously tried to explain. Well, the original was a bit inefficient. I think mine works much better. Emma came right up to me and said, I don't always handle things this way. This time, we had enough time before the deadline, so I thought it was necessary for the team's overall growth. It may seem roundabout, but please consider this as part of teamwork. Honestly, I didn't quite understand the concept of team growth she was talking about. Even in a team, it's just a group of individuals. If someone doesn't want to learn and grow, you can just cut them off. In Japan, I only ever thought about completing the tasks assigned to me faster and more accurately than anyone else. But still, I had to work under her, because I had promised Kevin, the CEO, when I joined. For the first month, I want you to work under Emma to get used to our company. Honestly, she's the best we have in practical terms. Once that's done, we can move on to that project together. I've been working desperately with my promise to Kevin as my motivation. But just a day before the promised month was up, I heard some shocking news. Kevin had collapsed from a subarachnoid hemorrhage and lost consciousness. So, our company has officially become a subsidiary of SK Games. You all should thank me. I'm now in charge of the former Big K Productions employees. For the time being, all communication with SK Games headquarters will go through me. Less than 2 weeks after Kevin collapsed, Big K Productions was acquired by the major game company SK Games. It's a different major game company than the one Kevin was once part of. Recently, however, they've only been releasing remakes and haven't had any new titles to lead the next generation. Emma and the experienced employees were surprised by the sudden decision and sought an explanation from Joe. According to this written agreement, if the CEO, Kevin, is incapacitated, I'm to take over the management. If you're unhappy with that, you can leave. Joe has been with Big K Productions since its inception and has managed the company alongside CEO Kevin. About 3 years ago, Kevin was hospitalized due to health issues, and that's when this document was prepared. Emma went to see Joe to dispute this and reported back to the younger employees of the former Big K Productions in an apologetic voice. I actually saw the documents about the procedures for when the CEO, Kevin, is incapacitated, and there were no deficiencies. I'm sorry, but I couldn't stop the team from disbanding. I'm really sorry. The team members tried their best to console Emma, who apologized deeply. With the acquisition, the experienced employees of the former Big K Productions voluntarily resigned, and all the existing teams were disbanded. Now, the former Big K Productions employees are merely carrying out the work that Joe has taken on from SK Games. I'll bring in the work, so please trust and wait. Many of the team members nodded with shining eyes at Emma's strong declaration. However, in the end, it only led to their disappointment. 2 days after Emma's strong declaration, I saw a surprising sight. Yes, we have a meeting at 7 p.m. tonight. Got it. You're heading out for sales now. If it's okay, could I join you? Thank you so much. Emma was flattering a middle-aged man from the acquiring company with a sweet voice. In the days of Big K Productions, she was someone who wouldn't back down even to senior experienced employees. Now, she was fawning over the people from the company that had acquired us. Joe, who had contributed to the acquisition of Big K Productions and was now appointed head of general affairs at SK Games, was smiling broadly at her change. She's quite beautiful, isn't she? I'm sure our clients will be pleased. She's very considerate. Please make use of her. Hey, what are you doing here? I had come to Joe's office to plead for improvements to the current situation. There I found Emma fawning over an executive from another department. Emma looked at me awkwardly but quickly switched back and left the room with the executive. While I was concerned about Emma, I needed to act for my own sake now. I turned my gaze to Joe and the others. Joe, what happened to that work we did the other day? I try hard not to look away from Joe, but it's still hard to meet his eyes. As my voice gets quieter, Joe clicks his tongue. Speak up. Geez, even Kevin brought in an incompetent. Your work. Oh, right. You took care of the issue that another department was struggling with. I made sure to take all the credit for that. I couldn't say anything back, even though I knew I was being belittled. I had studied programming so hard to prove myself against people like Joe. But if my achievements end up being credited to Joe, What am I working so hard for? My former teammates welcomed me back to the office, feeling the same way. Experienced employees could quit because they had connections elsewhere, but we younger folks didn't have such ties. When one of the young former Big K Productions members tried to quit out of frustration, Joe pressured them by saying he'd make sure they couldn't work in this industry again. With nowhere to turn, the only one besides Joe who was valued by SK Games was Emma. She used her looks to assist with entertaining clients and sales. Since our team was disbanded, she rarely showed up in front of us, instead sticking to SK Games executives and Joel like a shadow. Honestly, I'm disappointed in Emma. She said she'd get us work, but seems to be enjoying herself. I understand why my former teammate David complains like this. I still can talk well with Joe or the SK Games employees, but I've gotten somewhat better at communicating with my former Big K Productions teammates face to face. Are we just gonna be used by Joe like this forever? When I muttered that, my teammates all looked down. At Big K Productions, working overtime was the norm, but every day was fulfilling. Now, we were just tools for Joe's promotion. Frustrated with our inability to change the situation, we decided to drink after work. Not being much of a drinker, I decided to go home early while my teammates went to the second party. As I was stumbling toward the station, a familiar voice called out from behind. "John, I thought you didn't drink. You hardly touched your drink at the welcome party." She was dressed much more provocatively than at the office, probably coming back from entertaining clients. Her flushed cheeks from the alcohol were alluring, and I couldn't help but look away. I was drinking with my teammates. "Emma, are you done with your client meetings for today?" My eyes were unsteady, and my voice might have been hard to hear. But Emma stepped into my line of sight, her big eyes looking at me. "Wow, you've really gotten close with everyone. The client meetings ended early because of their schedule. Come join me." She patted my shoulder and pulled me toward a nearby bar. Maybe it was the alcohol I was treated to at the bar acting as a lubricant, but I ended up releasing the words I had kept inside my heart. "Emma, I'm disappointed in you. Are you trying to gain for yourself by sucking up to those who use us? We're burdened with difficult tasks from Joe every day." As soon as I paused, Emma slammed her glass down on the counter. "Huh?" When I turned to look at her in surprise, she was staring at me with a sad expression. "You might not understand, but I'm fighting in my own way. What about you? Just doing the work you're given won't change anything." With that, Emma picked up the check and left without another word. I was struck by how tightly she gripped her fist around the check, making it crumple as she walked away. Why did I come back to America? I can't face CEO Kevin like this. Emma's words kept running through my mind as I recalled the promise I made to Kevin. Apparently, Kevin hasn't regained consciousness yet. But when he does, I want to fulfill our promise to make a game together. When I thought about what I could do to make that happen, the first thing that came to mind was building a track record. "Joe, can you take a look at this proposal?" Joe just laughed at the proposal I had put together with the help of my teammates, focusing solely on programming. "Hey, who told you to do that job? You should just do the tasks I assign to you and nothing more. Don't waste your brain on unnecessary stuff." Joe says this as he throws the proposal into the trash without even looking at it. Despite that, I didn't give up and kept going back to his office. At first, my teammates told me it was useless and to stop, but eventually, they started to help me. However, Joe still wouldn't look at my proposal at all. If it comes to this, maybe I should bypass Joe and appeal directly to someone in higher position. But if I fail, I might not be able to stay at this company. And then my promise to make a game with Kevin would be. After countless failures, my spirit was about to break. If my proposal gets rejected one more time, I'll have to think of another plan. Just as I was thinking that and returning to my desk, I heard the sound of someone running towards our office. To my surprise, it was Emma, who hadn't been in the office for a long time. "John, come with me right now." Emma grabbed my arm and took me to a planning meeting with the executives. There, I saw an astonishing scene. Displayed on the screen was the proposal for the game I had once promised to make with Kevin. "What is this here?" As I stood there in shock, Emma introduced me to the executives. "He's a genius programmer who has worked in Japan for many years. I believe you all are already familiar with his work." Then, to my surprise, Emma detailed my work, which Joe had reported as his own achievement. She proudly declared to the executives, "This proposal is his. With him, this project is sure to succeed." The executives nodded in agreement, saying, "If he handled that job, he can be trusted with this project too." The only one who opposed was Joe, who frowned deeply. "Guys, you shouldn't believe such nonsense. Emma is just a woman who looks good." The executives reacted unexpectedly to his words. They laughed and argued back. "Joe, stop joking. It's rare to find a woman with as much practical experience as her. She's actually helped us with her specialized knowledge in both client meetings and sales." The whole conference room was now on Emma's side. As I was overwhelmed by the unexpected atmosphere, the meeting ended before I knew it. After finishing an important task, Emma pulled me out to the hallway outside the conference room and whispered in my ear where the executives couldn't hear, "This is my fight. But from here on, you have to do your best too. I've already contacted our old team members, so make sure to collaborate well and create something great." Her voice was filled with the joy and relief of having her patience finally rewarded. So Emma had been networking with the executives through her assistance in client meetings and sales for today's sake. Emma hadn't betrayed us at all. I clenched my fists, frustrated by my own foolishness for not realizing it sooner. At the same time, I started to feel another emotion toward her, something akin to admiration. As a result of the meeting, with everyone except Joe agreeing, the game production that Kevin and I had promised was decided. I later heard that Kevin had not been in the best health for a while and had entrusted the project proposal to Emma, asking her to move it forward with me if anything happened. He had relied on Emma instead of me because he believed she had much more power to drive the project forward than I did. This incident proved that his judgment was correct. When the game production actually started, the bonds formed with my teammates while Emma was absent had a positive effect. My teammates, understanding my personality, thought of ways to create an environment where I could work easily and communicate smoothly. I also tried to care about my teammates rather than just immersing myself in my own work. The foundation of this approach comes from my experience working as Emma's assistant during my time at Big K Productions. 1 year after Emma made a bold statement in front of the executives, our team successfully completed the master version of the game. Although there are still some fine adjustments left, we can say that the important work is almost done. On the night we went out to celebrate with the team, while everyone was heading to the third party, I secretly invited Emma to a bar. It was the same place where Emma had taken me after a client meeting once before. "Emma, thank you so much for everything this time. It's thanks to you that I, who was so inexperienced, can now work with others like this." As I appreciated, looking at Emma with a serious expression, she stared at me with her mouth agape. She probably never imagined I would say something like this. "When Kevin entrusted you to me, I wasn't sure what would happen, but now there's nothing to worry about." Her cheeks looked thinner than they did a year ago as she smiled shyly. Taking a deep breath, I made a once-in-a-lifetime decision and looked at Emma. "I've never met anyone as wonderful as you. I want to be with you more. No, forever. Please, would you go out with me?" I looked straight into her eyes as I asked. Having always struggled with communicating with others, this was the first time I knew love. I wanted to spend every possible second with her. I wanted to see her smile. These feelings filled my heart and gave me the courage. When Emma heard my confession, she covered her mouth and instantly welled up with tears. Emma, I thought I had become somewhat better at socializing, but in this situation, I didn't know what to say." While I was flustered, Emma wiped her eyes with a handkerchief and shook her head. "Don't worry, I just got a little emotional. You know, actually, I've known about you for a while. It must have been about 15 years ago, right? Do you remember the programming competition hosted by the game company where CEO Kevin worked?" I nodded her words. "That was the competition I won as a freshman in high school. My outstanding performance raised suspicions of cheating, but CEO Kevin gave me an impromptu task, and I solved it right in front of the judges, clearing up the allegations and earning their praise. I took the second place in that competition. Up until then, I thought I was a genius. But then I met someone even better. You completely humbled me. That's when I realized that just being good at programming might not be enough to make it in this industry, and that's why I am where I am today. From that time, you've been my mentor and my inspiration. I must have looked more surprised than Emma did a moment ago. Back then, I was desperate to prove myself, and was so focused on my achievement that I didn't remember any of the other participants. That's why I was so happy to work with you. And to know that you like me too. There's nothing more I could wish for. Thank you. I look forward to working with you. Sitting next to each other at the bar counter, both of our faces turned bright red as we started building a new relationship. And a year later, we would receive both good news and bad news almost simultaneously. CEO Kevin, thank you for everything. I want to say this again. Our game became a huge hit. It's because of your invitation that I was able to make it. As I place flowers in front of the grave, I speak alongside Emma. Unfortunately, CEO Kevin never regained consciousness and passed away. On the other hand, the game our team created became one of the best-selling titles released by SK Games in recent years. Thanks to that, the former employees of Big K Productions also gained recognition, and Joe, who had mistreated us, was demoted. We get married. Did you know we competed in the same competition? Either way, it's because you brought us together that we are here now. Thank you so much. Rest in peace. We finished telling Kevin our situation, then walk away hand in hand. Once we get home, it's back to work. When's the next deadline? When I ask this, Emma smiles softly, her slightly rounded cheeks glowing. You've already finished your work a long time ago. You just want to help your teammates, right? Her commitment to teamwork has clearly rubbed off on me. With a gentle smile, Emma places her hand on her belly, already looking like a mother. Her belly isn't big yet, but a new life is growing inside her. With someone to protect, I vow to work even harder for my family.